Have the New York Giants finally fixed their biggest problem? We're going to talk about that on today's show as you're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Marshall Green. We all know the offensive line for the New York Giants has really been the Achilles heel of this team for what seems like more than a decade, and it's really been a hurdle that the Giants have not been able to get over. Also, the quarterback play since number 10 retired has not been great, but the offensive line has not helped Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito or Tyrod Taylor or Tim Boyle or all the other quarterbacks that have played since he is retired. Like in the Joe Schoen era, it has not been great. And his number one job when he got here was supposed to fix the offensive line. His first year, they gave up 49 sacks, the 18th most. Not bad. Not great. Definitely not great in 2023 when you gave up 85 sacks, I believe the second most in NFL history. And then in 2024, this past year, you gave up 48, the third most. And in this 3-year stretch, you've given up the most sacks in the National Football League. I want to zero in, though, on the 2024 season, as that was just a couple months ago. And we're actually going to have the same exact starting five on the offensive line that we had in Week 1 of 2024 as we will in 2025. So how bad was the offensive line last year? Well, let's go to Pro Football Focus. They ranked the Giants' pass blocking O-line last year as the 28th best. 57.6 was the grade that they gave them. And the run blocking on the offensive line was 59.7, 23rd. So they had the Giants' O-line as a bottom 7-8 unit in the National Football League last year. And you know what? I don't think that's unfair, but I also don't really think that is fair, because when you're having a conversation that takes context, like there's nuance to it. And the context for the Giants' offensive line matters so much. Of the Giants' O-linemen that started in Week 1, only one of them played every single snap at the same position that they were supposed to. How are you supposed to be good on the offensive line if you have 4 new starters in different spots from Week 1 to Week 17? The Giants' O-line last year, they gave up 48 sacks. That is the raw number. But with Pro Football Focus putting in their nuance and context, the O-line was only charged for 32 of those. So 16 of them were charged on the quarterback, or holding the football too long, or whatever it may be. And Russell Wilson is someone that throughout his career has taken a lot of sacks, so I'm not sure that will change all that much. But we're talking about, has the offensive line finally been fixed? I think that it is better than it has been ever in the Joe Schoen era, despite it being the same starting five as last year. Let me kind of try to explain myself. In Week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings, the New York Giants, as a team, allowed 5 sacks, right? But only one of them was charged to the offensive line. Well, in Week 2 against the Washington Commanders, you gave up 1 sack, and it was charged to the offensive line. In Week 3, you gave up 2 sacks against the Cleveland Browns, but only 0 of them were charged to the O-line. Just like in Week 4, 0 of them were charged to the O-line, but you did give up a sack. And then Week 5, you gave up 3 sacks, with 1 of them being charged to the O-line. And in Week 6, you gave up 2 sacks, and both of those were charged to the offensive line. Why did I stop at Week 6? I'll tell you in a second. Well, the New York Giants, through Week 5 of the NFL season, they had the 16th best pass blocking offense. They had the 11th best sack rate allowed. And they only allowed 3 sacks. I would do nasty shit if I could get this for 17 games next season. If you told me the Giants had a top half pass blocking O-line, a top 11 sack rate, and through 5 games they gave up 3 sacks, and which means if you times it by 3, through 15 games they gave up, it'll be 9 sacks, I'd be pretty damn pumped up about that. Also, the run blocking was better as well through Weeks 2 and 4. Didn't do well against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 1. I will not try to convince you of that. But from Weeks 2 to Week 6, the Giants' run game averaged 120.8 rushing yards per game. It's pretty damn good, especially when you consider through that stretch they only allowed 9 sacks, and only like 3 of them were charged to the offensive line. Why did they fall off? Because Andrew Thomas could not stay healthy. He was playing with a jacked up foot in that Week 6 game, and he allowed The only 2 sacks to Trey Hendrickson in that game. Andrew Thomas has to stay healthy. We know that. He is the most important player on the Giants. He really, really is. We've seen time and time again, when he goes down, he takes the Giants season with them. 2024, he played 6 games. Giants O-line was pretty good through 6 games, right? We just showed you the numbers. And he got hurt, and they were not good anymore. But it wasn't just him who got hurt. John Runyon ended up getting hurt. John Michael Schmitz ended up getting hurt. And then Jermaine Illuminor had to move from right tackle to left tackle. But it wasn't just last year. 2023, when he got hurt, the Giants gave up the most sacks in an NFL season in like 30 years. He's been able to stay relatively healthy before that, but we need like 13 games or 16 games and to play an entire season. Why do I think the Giants O-line is better than a lot of people talk about? Because they have a guy in Jermaine Illuminor who is a solid right tackle, like solid. But when he has to switch to go play left tackle, which he did when Andrew Thomas got hurt, he was pretty damn good as well. And week 10 is when they first put him at left tackle. And from week 10 through week 18, gave up 2 sacks. 2 sacks. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6 games at left tackle, he gave up 2 sacks. And he gave up 9 pressures. And he gave up just 2 QB hits. So you have a right tackle who's solid. Jermaine Illuminor was good at right tackle for the Giants. But you also have an adequate backup in Jermaine Illuminor who can swing from right to left if Andrew Thomas does go down. Like, injuries derailed the Giants' solid offensive line play. They were a top half offensive line through the league. Then Andrew Thomas got hurt, and they didn't put Illuminor there until week 10. So week 7 against Philly, week 8 against Pittsburgh, and week 9 against Washington, they gave up a good amount of sacks and pressures, and they didn't have their best left tackle on the roster playing there. Even though you can go back and watch the channel, I told them that they should have did that. But also, John Runyon got hurt. Then John Michael Schmitz missed games. Like, it's hard to be a good O-line when you don't have your starting left tackle, you don't have your starting left guard, you don't have your starting center, and your starting right tackle has to move to left tackle. So how do you solve that? You add some quality depth. And that is what the New York Giants have done really over the last 2 seasons. They brought back Greg Van Roten in free agency. And this is going to be, in my opinion, your week 1 offensive line. But you went out and you signed James Hudson and Stone Forsythe. Look, I'm not going to call them world beaters, but they're much better swing tackles the Giants have had in a long, long time. You brought back Aaron Stinnie, who started games in this league and played at a decent level before. You made it a priority to select Marcus Bowe, who I believe is going to be one of the most valued picks from the 2025 draft class. He can play right guard, right tackle, left guard, left tackle. And he's been doing it all with the first unit, second unit, and third unit in the spring. So you have quality depth there as well, which is exciting. So Andrew Thomas has to stay healthy. You actually have a solid left tackle if worst case scenario comes. But you've added quality depth as well. The next question becomes, can John Michael Schmitz take a step? Look, you've allocated the proper resources to the O-line. You paid a big-time left tackle, rightfully so. You gave John Runyon $10 million to be your left guard. You traded up in round 2 to select John Michael Schmitz. And then you have a right tackle in Jermaine Illuminor who you paid as well. You also took 1 7th overall, who we might be talking about in a little bit. I thought John Michael Schmitz was better in year 2 than in year 1. 2024, he was decent. Year 1, he was not. And I thought he got better and better and better as the season went on for the Giants. And I think that's reflected getting better from year to year in the pressures. He allowed 30 pressures in 13 games his rookie year, but only 28 pressures in 15 games in year 2. And I think having a guy like John Runyon to his left and a veteran like Greg Roten to his right, that's going to help. And look, even if Greg Van Roten's not the guy, he can slide in and play center if JMS struggles. And he's a smart guy, JMS. He knows it is now or never for him. You get it 3 years as a second-round pick to show who you are. And if you're a second-round center, you need to be a really good player. He hasn't been that yet. He's trying to teeter-totter on the line of being a bust or not being a bust. And I think there's a chance that he plays better this year. And quite frankly, I'm hoping and praying and wishing that he plays better because this Giants O-line, it absolutely needs you. My last thought on the O-line on today's show is, does Evan Neal give you anything in his 4th year in the National Football League. As we know, the Giants have moved him from right tackle to the interior on the offensive line. He's been getting a lot of reps this offseason at left guard. And I actually love that because if you can have Andrew Thomas to your left, that's just going to make you naturally a better player. And John Runyon, before coming to the Giants, was actually a better right guard than left guard. And remember, he came here and signed to be a right guard, and Jermaine Illuminor was signed to be a left guard, but then Evan Neal was at right tackle, and then he got hurt, then wasn't hurt, then hurt again, and they moved Illuminor from left guard to right tackle, and they shifted Runyon from right guard to left guard. It was just a game of musical chairs. You got a whole offseason this time. You got a whole training camp. You're going to have a full preseason. And they're going to give, I believe, Evan Neal every opportunity to win the left guard job and move John Runyon to right guard, and Van Roten is kind of your first backup at left guard, center, and right guard. If you can get anything out of this man, that just continues to elevate what this O-line can be. Has he been a bust? Yeah. Has he said stupid things about Giants fans? Yeah. Do I hate him for it? Yeah, you know what? I do hate him for it. But holy shit, man, you were a 7th overall pick. I need you to give me something, or you'll never play in this league again. What's your confidence level in the Giants O-line? Let's go 1 to 10. 10 being you got the most confidence in the world. 1 being you think they're going to be the worst O-line in the world again. Look, I think this should be a top half of the league unit. Can they be a top 16 O-line? Can they be a top 18 O-line? If you told me the Giants had the 19th best pass blocking offensive line and the 15th best run blocking O-line, I'd be absolutely pumped up. And I don't think it's the most impossible thing in the world. I don't always want to rag on the guy that wore number 8 here, but a quarterback can really improve an offensive line. I think Rusty's going to be able to help him do that. Make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram @MarshallGreen_.